Baklava, or klo, is a rich, sweet dessert pastry made of layers of phyllo filled with chopped nuts and sweetened and held together with syrup or honey. It is characteristic of the cuisines of the Levant, the Caucasus, Balkans, Maghreb, and of Central and West Asia. Etymology. The word baklava is first attested in English in 1650, a borrowing from Ottoman Turkish bakula, klo. The name baklava is used in many languages with minor phonetic and spelling variations. Historian Paul D. Buell argues that the word baklava may come from the Mongolian root ba gamala, to tie, wrap up, pile up, composed with the Turkic verbal ending v. Ba gamala itself in Mongolian is a Turkic loanword. Armenian linguist Sevan Nisanyan considers its oldest known forms pre-1500 to be baklagi and baklagu, and labels it as being of Proto-Turkic origin. Another form of the word is also recorded in Persian, bakla baklava. Though the suffix va might suggest a Persian origin, the bakla part does not appear to be Persian and remains of unknown origin. The Arabic name bakulat baklawa likely originates from Turkish, though a folk etymology, unsupported by Weir's dictionary, connects it to Arabic biqult, bakla, bean. History. Although the history of baklava is not well documented, its current form was probably developed in the imperial kitchens of the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul. The Sultan presented trays of baklava to the janissaries every 15th of the month of Ramadan in a ceremonial procession called the baklava alai. There are three proposals for the pre-Ottoman roots of baklava: the Roman placenta cake, as developed through Byzantine cuisine; the Central Asian Turkic tradition of layered breads, or the Persian lozinak, the oldest 2nd century BCE recipe that resembles a similar dessert is the honey-covered baked layered dough dessert placenta of Roman times, which Patrick Fass identifies as the origin of baklava. The Greeks and the Turks still argue over which dishes were originally Greek and which Turkish. Baklava, for example, is claimed by both countries. Greek and Turkish cuisine both built upon the cookery of the Byzantine Empire, which was a continuation of the cooking of the Roman Empire. Roman cuisine had borrowed a great deal from the ancient Greeks, but placenta and hence baklava had a Latin, not a Greek, origin. Please note that the conservative, anti-Greek Cato left us this recipe. Shape the placenta as follows: place a single row of tracta along the whole length of the base dough. This is then covered with the mixture, cheese and honey, from the mortar. Place another row of tracta on top and go on doing so until all the cheese and honey have been used up. Finish with a layer of tracta. Place the placenta in the oven and put a preheated lid on top of it. When ready, honey is poured over the placenta. Andrew Dalby identifies this, and surrounding dessert recipes in Cato, as coming from a Greek tradition, and cites Antiphanes, Florida, 3rd century BC, as quoted by Athenaeus. Several sources state that this Roman dessert continued to evolve during the Byzantine Eastern Roman Empire into modern baklava. In antiquity, the Greek word plakis, Greek plakis, was also used for Latin placenta, and the American scholar Speros Vryonis describes one type of plakis, koptoplakis, Byzantine Greek koptoplakis, as a Byzantine favorite, and the same as the Turkish baklava, as do other writers. Indeed, the Roman word placenta, Greek platsenta, is used today on the island of Lesbos in Greece to describe a baklava-type dessert of layered pastry leaves containing crushed nuts that is baked and then covered in honey. Muhammad bin Hassan al-Baghdadi was a compiler from the Abbasid period who described lozinak, a dessert said by some to have been similar to baklava, though others say it was not like baklava. Lozinak, which derives from the Aramaic word for almond, refers to small pieces of almond paste wrapped in very thin pastry, as thin as grasshoppers' wings, and drenched in syrup. Al-Baghdadi's cookbook, Kitab al-Tabak, was written in 1226 in today's Iraq and was based on a collection of 9th-century Persian-inspired recipes. According to Gil Marks, Middle Eastern pastry makers developed the process of layering the ingredients. He asserts that some scholars said they were influenced by Mongols or Turks. The only original manuscript of al-Baghdadi's book survives at the Süleymaniye Library in Istanbul, Turkey, and according to Charles Perry, "For centuries, it had been the favorite cookbook of the Turks." though Perry also notes that the manuscript has no recipe for baklava. A further 260 recipes had been added to the original by Turkish compilers at an unknown date, retitling it as Kitabul Vasfil Etim el Muatade, and 2 of its known 3 copies can be found now at the Topkapi Palace Library in Istanbul. Eventually, Muhammad ibn Mahmud al-Shirwani, the physician of the Ottoman Sultan Murad II, prepared a Turkish translation of the book, adding around 70 contemporary recipes. Another recipe for a similar dessert is gullik, a dessert found in the Turkish cuisine and considered by some as the origin of baklava. It consists of layers of phyllo dough that are put one by one in warmed-up milk with sugar. It is served with walnut and fresh pomegranate and generally eaten during Ramadan. The first known documentation of gullik is attested in a food and health manual, written in 1330 that documents Mongol foods called Yinshan Zhengyao, Yinshan Zhengyao Important Principles of Food and Drink, written by Hu Sawi, an ethnic Mongol court dietitian of the Yuan dynasty. Uzbek cuisine has baklava, puskal or yupka or in Tatar yoka, which are sweet and salty savories prepared with 10 to 12 layers of dough. There are also some similarities between baklava and the ancient Greek desserts gastries, kopta sesames, and koptan found in Book 14 of the Dipnosophisti. However, the recipe there is for a filling of nuts and honey, with a top and bottom layer of honey and ground sesame similar to modern pastelli or halva, and no dough, certainly not a flaky dough. Preparation. Baklava is normally prepared in large pans. Many layers of phyllo dough, separated with melted butter and vegetable oil, are laid in the pan. A layer of chopped nuts—typically walnuts or pistachios, but hazelnuts are also sometimes used—is placed on top, then more layers of phyllo. Most recipes have multiple layers of phyllo and nuts, though some have only top and bottom pastry. Before baking 180 degrees Celsius, 356 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 minutes, the dough is cut into regular pieces, often parallelograms lozenge-shaped, triangles, diamonds or rectangles. After baking, a syrup, which may include honey, rosewater, or orange flower water is poured over the cooked baklava and allowed to soak in. Baklava is usually served at room temperature, often garnished with ground nuts. Regional variations. In Turkey, baklava is traditionally made by filling between the layers of dough with pistachios, walnuts or almonds in some parts of the Aegean region. In the Black Sea region, hazelnuts are commonly used as a filling for baklava. Hazelnuts are also used as a filling for the Turkish dessert sütlü nuriye, a lighter version of the dessert which substitutes milk for the simple syrup used in traditional baklava recipes. Sobayat is a variation that includes fresh cream in the filling, in addition to the traditional nuts. The city of Gaziantep in southeast Turkey is famous for its pistachio baklava. The dessert was introduced to Gaziantep in 1871 by Celebi Gulu, who had learned the recipe from a chef in Damascus. In 2008, the Turkish Patent Office registered a geographical indication for Antep baklava, and in 2013, Antep baklavasi or Gaziantep baklavasi was registered as a protected geographical indication by the European Commission. In many parts of Turkey, baklava is often topped with kaymak or ice cream. Armenian baklava is spiced with cinnamon and cloves. Greek-style baklava is supposed to be made with 33 dough layers, referring to the years of Christ's life. In Azerbaijani cuisine, azbeykan pakslavasi, made with walnuts or almonds, is usually cut in a rhombus shape and is traditionally served during the spring holiday of Nowruz. In the cuisine of Bosnia, ruzice is the name of the regional variant of baklava. In Crimean Tatar cuisine, the baklava is their variant of baklava. In Lebanese, Syrian, Jordanian, Iraqi, Egyptian, Israeli and Palestinian cuisines, baklava prepared from phyllo dough sheets, butter, walnuts and sugar syrup is cut into lozenge-shaped pieces. In the Maghreb, mainly Libyan, Tunisian, Algerian and Moroccan cuisines, the pastry was brought along many others by the Ottomans, and is prepared differently depending on the regions and cities. In Iranian cuisine, a drier version of baklava is cooked and presented in smaller diamond-shaped cuts flavored with rose water. The cities of Yazd and Kazvin are famous for their baklava, which is widely distributed in Iran. Persian baklava uses a combination of chopped almonds and pistachios spiced with cardamom and a rose water-scented syrup and is lighter than other Middle Eastern versions. See also: mille feuilles, strudel, sfogliatelle, list of desserts, list of pastries. Notes